Fire Sword, Chapter 30, The Black Spirit. So, this is the place, Crom asked skeptically. The ship was docked at an unnamed island, and the shepherds were all disembarking to stretch their legs and set up camp for the night. Crom, Kazuto, Robin, and Argo, who was now endowed with yellow cat-sea wings, were all standing on a small rise that overlooked the natural harbor they had all docked in. I gotta say, Robin, this place looks deserted, Kirito frowned. You sure your intel was right, Argo? He directed his question at the brown-haired girl, who shot him a glare. I wouldn't have sold it if I wasn't sure, she snorted. Besides, this island's big enough that one guy could have easily undetected if he wanted. True, Kazuto sighed. Alright, but we have until tomorrow morning to find this descendant. And since it's already the afternoon... He looked up at the sky to see the beginnings of a rosy sunset. He beat his wings and hovered above the ground before looking down at the shepherd's leaders. I'll be back soon, he said. Tell Sinon, Lifa, Celica, and Asuna that I'd appreciate help in a flyover search. Alright, but be back in time for dinner, Crom called up. You don't want to bring Yui along? Robin asked, which caused Kazuto to hesitate before shaking his head. Not yet, he explained. She's still pretty weak from her experience. Tell her I'll be back soon, though. And with that, he took to the air to begin the search for Ike's descendant. About half an hour later, he ran into Sinon, who explained that the other girls were exploring the island in other areas, with the exception of Yui and Argo. Thanks, Sinon, he said once he was up to speed. Any luck so far? Nah, and unless we find something soon, I doubt we'll find him at all, she shrugged. Could be that even if this guy was around, he left once he started getting visitors from other places. Maybe even joined one of the expeditions that came around here. Could be, but I doubt it for some reason. Kazuto frowned as he put fingers on his chin. What I wouldn't give for my Spriggan eyesight right now. Well, fire up a signal with your magic if you do find anything, Sinon said. If you do, Silica will fetch the shepherds, and the rest of us will meet up with you then. Got it, partner. He grinned as he gave her a thumbs up, which she returned before flying off at an easy pace. As soon as he turned to look back and resume his search, his eye was drawn to something. Hovering over and descending to get a closer look, Kazuto was interested to see a series of old, collapsed buildings right next to a steeper incline that hid it from the view of the shepherd's camp. The buildings themselves weren't that interesting, but what was interesting was the sight of fresh bedrolls, cookware, and various other belongings that did not look like they had been left behind by the original occupants. Some of the cook fires looked as though they'd only recently been put out. Wait a sec, Kazuto muttered aloud as he peered over one of the ruins. Suddenly an arrow shot up from behind a stone pillar, his sharp reflexes being the only thing that saved him from being impaled. Not go through that crap again, he thought sourly, remembering the last time that he had been shot by a surprise arrow. Raising his fist, he sent a burst of basic dark magic into the sky, glad that the sun had not completely yet set. He was rewarded with several arrows being loosed in his direction, and the owners stepping out into plain sight, along with many of their friends who were armed to the teeth. Oh man, he gulped as he shot upward and out of the range of their arrows. This is going to be hard to approach. Hey, Kirito! Sinon called out as she and Asuna flew up to him, keeping an eye out on the hostile locals below. You okay? Yeah, just a little surprised is all, he replied as they drew close enough for them to talk without shouting. They started shooting at me, so I just came up here. I can't really blame them for being surprised. I sometimes forget that people aren't used to our wings. It's still rude to shoot at people when they haven't even attacked. Asuna huffed, annoyed. Why don't we discourage them while we wait for the shepherds to arrive? I'm for that, Kirito said even as Asuna's hands began to crackle with lightning. He went to draw his swords, only to be stopped by Sinon's hand and voice. Are you guys crazy? She said. There's gotta be like 50 guys down there. So? Kirito asked, not really seeing the problem. So, unless we want to antagonize any spellcasters they've got, which can probably hit us at any range, we should wait for reinforcements. She gave them both a look that read, What am I, your mother? But if they had spellcasters, wouldn't they have used them already? Asuna asked with a cocked head. Before Sinon could answer, a lightning blast shot out, narrowly missing Kirito. You had to tempt them, didn't you? He complained. You're the one that's wanted to go down and fight all of them right now, Sinon argued as they retreated back toward the shepherd's camp. I didn't know they would have magic, he protested. Really? Sinon snapped. Kirito, what army have we run into in this world that wasn't packing magic? I can always hope, he mumbled. They reached the camp just as Crom and Robin finished mobilizing the force. Hi, Kirito, Robin said as the three of them landed. What kind of odds are we looking at here? They have a lot of long-range fighters armed with magic and bows, Asuna answered. But they also have a lot of people that weren't attacking armed with close combat equipment. There's about 50 of them, maybe more, so we're looking at mostly one-on-one combat, Kirito added. There's one other thing, Sinon said, her chin in her fingers. What is it? Crom asked. I noticed something weird about all their equipment, she replied. A lot of them were Valmese, which made sense to me, but there were also Plesian and Elysian soldiers in there too. What? Crom and Robin both exclaimed. Their shock was understandable enough. Plegia and Elise were traditional enemies, and Valm had made quite the name for itself recently. It made no sense that they would all be fighting together. Regardless, it seems we should investigate, Father, Lucina said, her hand on her falchion's pommel. If we have come this far, we would be remiss to turn back now. And I, for one, want to see what made it possible for these people to unite in such a manner. I agree, Crom said, shaking his head to rid himself of his surprise. Sorry, just lost my nerve there for a moment. He turned to face the other shepherds who were awaiting instructions. All right, shepherds, he called out. We are about to engage with a likely hostile force of mixed nations. Be on guard at all times. Do not hesitate to retaliate if you are attacked. Warriors of Alfheim, keep above. Try to back up anyone that needs it if they don't deploy sky units, Robin added. Shepherds, march! Letting out their battle cries, the Elysian heroes moved to run where their newest opponents lay in wait. As they approached the ruins, Crom and Robin ordered the shepherds to a halt when they saw two figures waiting for them on top of the rise. Hold this position, Crom told Kirito. Robin and I will talk to them. What if they attack you? Kirito asked before they could go. Tell Sinon to keep an eye on us, Robin answered, and if something goes wrong, shoot well. Then they left their allies behind to approach the two strangers. As they walked up, the details became clearer. One of them was massive, a tall build and muscles that belonged to a god. His hair and eyes were dark blue, though not quite as dark as Crom's. On his shoulders rested a massive 7-foot-long two-handed sword that he carried with no discernible effort. He looked to be in his late 20s. The second one was a little harder to make out due to the black cloak that shrouded their body, but the shoulders were broad, so Crom assumed it was safe to say this warrior was also a male. His face was mostly hidden, but the skin underneath it was pale and smooth, indicating youth. He was also tall, although not a giant like the first man. On his back protruded a black handle for a one-handed sword that somehow seemed familiar to Robin. When they stood about 20 paces apart, the taller of the two held up his hand and said, "That's far enough." Crom and Robin stopped where they stood. "Why are you here?" asked the cloaked one. His voice was definitely that of a teenager, but it was deep and vibrant, indicating that he was perhaps 16 or 18, not much younger than Crom and Robin themselves. "We are looking for someone calling themselves the descendant of Ike," Crom replied. "We came to see if he would aid us in our efforts to prevent disaster striking the world." The blue-haired man's left eyebrow went up. "The whole world, huh?" he asked. "Yes," Robin nodded. "We seek to prevent the resurrection of Grima, the fell dragon, and if Ike's descendant were to help us, it would be much appreciated." "The name's Priam," the blue-haired man said as he rammed his blade into the solid rock beneath his feet with little effort. "And if you can best me and my men, I'll help you however I can." "Just like that?" Robin asked, surprised. "I don't take orders from people I can't respect," Priam said simply. "And I don't respect people that don't know their way around a fight." "Good. I see we agree on something already." Crom grinned as he raised his falchion with both hands. "Your men against ours, then." Robin opened up his thunder tone, ready for combat. "Give the signal, kid," Priam said to his companion. "Aye," he said as he reached up and unclasped his cloak and tossed it aside. He was wearing all black underneath, the clothing looking like something from Chonsin. His long hair and eyes were also black as Grima's heart. His body was thinner than Priam's, but just as chiseled. But what drew their eyes most of all was the black, massive Spriggan wings sprouting from his back that carried him up into the air. I'm not the only one that saw that, right?" Crom asked. "I was about to ask the same thing," Robin answered. "But how is that possible?" Crom finished for him. "We have all the marbles capable of granting those powers from Tiki, right?" As they were speaking, the youth raised his fist to the sky and unleashed a burst of darkness magic that exploded into a dark cloud, probably to signal everyone down below. Then he dove behind the rise and out of sight. "Hey, Priam," Robin asked the man directly as the Spriggan boy took off. "Where'd you find that kid?" "He found me," Priam shrugged. "Won't say where he's from, but I'll tell you this. I've never seen someone that good with a sword. I fought him, and he let me call our match a draw." A look of mild embarrassment flashed across his face, and then it cleared and he said, "I'll be waiting for you in the ruins. Don't keep us waiting." "Wait, that skinny kid beat Priam?" Crom wondered aloud. "How? I don't know, but I doubt we're going to get our answers by standing around all day," Robin said as he waved the shepherds forward. "Looks like we'll be getting our answers out the usual way." "By beating the daylights out of them?" Crom grinned. "Is there any other way?" Robin chuckled. "Kirito, did you see that?" Asuna asked her husband as they watched the Spriggan boy descend out of sight. "Yeah," he nodded, drawing his swords. "I call fighting him. I want to know how he got those wings and that magic. Maybe he's from Alfheim like us, Sachi suggested mildly. I don't know any other Spriggans other than me. Kirito shook his head. So whoever he is, he's not from our group back home. And that means you need to fight him to get answers, Lucina asked, confused. Just let him go. Asuna sighed. If he wants to fight somebody, nobody's going to talk him out of it. Hey, they're waving us forward, Yuki pointed out. We should get going. Alright, Asuna, you take care of this. Kirito said as he shot into the sky on his wings. I'll be back, he called down. Please be safe, she prayed quietly. Kirito was shocked when the boy from before shot up into the sky with a speed that matched his own to punch him in the stomach, winding him badly. Predictable, he growled. That'll get you killed in this world. To the point, huh? Kirito coughed. Then he grinned and did a rapid forward flip that slammed his heels into his opponent's head. Good, I like my fights that way. The other boy recovered quickly, zipping around his opponent and smashing his right palm into his back, right underneath one of the Kirito's shoulder blades, and almost forcing him to lose his grip on his dark repulsor. Ah! He cried out in pain. Whirling around, he tried to cut at his opponent with his elucidator, only to have it blocked with another black blade that somehow looked familiar to Kirito, but he couldn't quite place it. Jeez, kid, he grunted. You fight hard. There's no other way to win if you want to emerge victorious, the other boy said as he slapped the elucidator away from his neck. I care not for the method of my victory, only the results that await me at the end of the journey. Who are you, kid? Kirito asked as he looked at the sword in his enemy's hand. It was a one-handed straight sword, black in color, with a sturdy crossguard and a blade point that widened just a bit before it ended. That sword looks familiar to me. How'd you get your wings? Those are secrets you have to wrest out of me once you've defeated me. If you can, he replied stiffly. Come, black swordsman! You know my name, but I don't know yours. Kirito grunted, his back aching badly where he had been struck. It was going to be a long fight, he knew. At least give me something to call you. He snorted. I have many names where I come from, but I suppose that for now you may address me as the Black Spirit. He whirled his sword into a position that struck another chord in Kirito's memory, but it eluded him for a moment. Black Spirit, huh? He chuckled. What are you, nerd with a fancy sword? Black swordsman, huh? His opponent mocked him. What are you, a child with a savior complex? And we're done here, Kirito muttered. He shot forward, dual swords in hand, ready to fight for real now. His opponent's eyes darkened like storm clouds ready to unleash lightning. Even as they began their battle in earnest, the shepherds below finally began their skirmish with Priam's warriors. So, let's see. I received a little bit of a mixed, I'm looking at the reviews that I got for this chapter, and it looks like they're pretty mixed on how people felt about how Mataras made his debut in this story. Some people were like, is he a clone? Is he your original character? It's like some people, one guy in particular, Crystal Phoenix Blader, I liked his comment. He said, My, Kirito versus the Black Spirit. The build-up's just like when Lucina used to address herself as Marth, complete with that butterfly print mask and everything of her facing Crom, which is what I was going for, more or less. Some people were like, oh, it's his son. Somebody picked up exactly on who it was because there's a quote that he uses, I care not for the method of my victory, only the results that await me at the end of that journey. He says that at least once in each different incarnation that I've made of him. So people that have been paying attention to my other stories, they knew who he was, which was, I thought, that was kind of a fun little Easter egg to leave in there. I didn't get to the fight until the next chapter, because I figured, build it up a little bit. We've been kind of coasting along for a little bit here. It's time to. I don't want to jump straight back into the action because then it's not as special, and I want it to be special. So let's build things up a little bit and keep people in suspense a little longer. And I mean like that. Sorry, guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. I hope you enjoyed the audio take that I've done on it. Please be sure to like and subscribe. If you're so inclined, feel free to donate to the channel at Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. And a big shout out to Will Underwood, who is my biggest donor so far. Without donations from him and the rest of you guys, it wouldn't be possible for me to do this stuff. The camera that I'm using right now, paid for by you guys. The microphone, same thing. Even the computer that I now run stuff off of, all of that was paid for by you guys. And I'd like to be able to continue expanding on the toys that I've got to bring you guys more and more content. So, If you can't, no worries. Just continue to enjoy what I've been putting out, and just get the word out there. But until the next time, Red Swordsman out.